There is a communication problem. I think one of the things you would notice in the debate leading up to the finance bill was the Kenyan public were well informed, and they knew exactly what they didn't want. And I think now there's a problem in the sense that people are trying to. There's this blame game that there was not enough communication, there was no public participation, but there's a policy failure. The problem of Kenya today is that our policy, the government policies have failed because there isn't a very serious engagement on policy other than what has come from outside. And the current policy, many people believe, is led by the IMF, by foreign economic forces. Kenya is being dictated. They have been told, this is what you need to do to get IMF support. And this whole idea of depending on international assistance, international intervention for economic policies, economic problems, is one of the failures of our system. So information might be used as an argument, but if information is not going to fix bad policies. And we need a new approach to how we deal with our economics, because our economy is based on borrowing, indebtedness. It's not an economy based on growth and development. And the reason why we have problems every 4 or 5 years is because we're not able to generate enough employment for our youth. We're not able to grow our economy, and there is a dissatisfaction. And unless we can get a government which is focused on real, effective policies that would change the reality of that, we're going to continue to be beggars. The other thing is also I wanted to comment is the democratic representation. Here people are talking about minority. I see Roku is talking about minority. The total number of people who registered to vote in the 22 elections were 22.1 million. The people who eventually voted were only 14 million. 7 million did not, people who have registered as voters, never bothered to turn up for the elections. And there's another 4 or 5 million people who didn't even register for elections. So although we have a democratic system, democracy is not just about elections. It is more than that. It's not the act of holding elections. A robust democracy requires to be renewed every day through public participation, through public engagement. And taking up on the joke that Mheshimiwa Kajwang did about Ruku, is that there were these colleagues of ours in Parliament. They clearly knew that the finance bill was not accepted by the Kenyan people. There was an outrage against it everywhere. And yet they went ahead and passed it. And some few minutes when Parliament was invaded, was attacked, they were the first people to run around like rats, screaming and not knowing the consequences of what they just did. So the Kenyan people were fed up, and the Gen Zs came up to push forward to a point where, in fact, we reached a crisis. And I think the only way we can come out of that crisis is changing our policies, our political policies, our economic policies, because at the moment what the president has done is to do a political somersault, to be able to fix, to do a quick fix, to keep this ship from sinking. But it requires much more.
Does it work to the end?
This is what everybody's looking at to see how it pans out. It's a temporary thing. And 3 years, for heaven's sake, is not enough to turn things around economically. And someone, however brilliant they may be, like John Bundy, is not going to be able to do much. He would be trapped in that situation. 3 years would go very quickly. The question is, what is the long-term vision of this country? How can we take this country out of this perennial crisis every 4 or 5 years? We need to fix our economy. And unless we can fix our economy and have a robust democratic system, we would continue to have these cycles every 4 or 5 years.
Okay.